Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On this Proactive Pragmatism, I'd like to carry on with our series Millennials Are. This next millennial that I'm bringing to you hails from Atlanta, Georgia. He's humble, hungry, and highly motivated. Ladies and gentlemen, before the billions. Well, what's going on, brother?
Doing well. How are you doing, Tommy?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm blessed, too blessed to be stressed. You know what I'm saying? And when I was prepping for this interview, I was thinking, how can I highlight, this person, in the best light? And I was just like, but before the billions, he speaks for himself because his name, man, it's crazy. It's like before the billions, like that's one of the most catchiest names like I've ever seen on YouTube, like bar none.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, you good,
And
brother? So go ahead. How have you been?
I've been pretty good, man. Been pretty good. Yes. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right, hanging in there. But I really want before we dig into, I understand you're a data engineer, and
Yes, sir.
before we dig into that, can you kind of give the listeners a little bit of background on you and how you became a data engineer and where that passion comes from?
Right. So, a little bit of background about me. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. I actually went to Georgia State University,
Okay.
and that is my alma mater. Um, so I actually got into technology or data engineering because of my dad. My dad was somebody who was a police officer, and also he did IT for his police precinct. With that, he told me when I was asking him, "What should I do when I go to college?" And he said, "Man, you got to get into IT or something tech related." And I said, "Okay, you know what? Let me go into computer science." I ended up getting my computer science degree, and the concentration I had was dealing with databases. So I pretty much got typecasted, and the jobs that wanted to hire me were data engineers. So my first job was as data engineer, and I have been sticking with that specialization since I started my career.
Okay. And so how many years ago did your dad see that foresight of you becoming a data engineer? Was this like on the peak of like high school, middle school, or like were you a kid? Like, cause I feel like recently, tech and software has become the new entrepreneurial word for a lot of people. Cause a lot of people, they say they're gonna do it and they've been doing this and doing that. And like a lot of people don't speak with their actions. They just like talking about it. So it becomes over glorified. We know the money's there, but we also understand that a lot of people don't want to put in that type of work.
Yeah, that's exactly true. So to answer your question, my dad brought this up to me. This was back in 2013. So it's
Okay.
2022 now. So it's like 9 years ago. So
Okay.
yeah, so I was sitting here like, okay, what am I going to do in order to uh, get this specific certification or this degree? What am I actually going to do? So I looked up how much they make. I said, okay, you know what? That was a huge amount of money that I was like, you know what? I got to go ahead and do it. So I listened to my dad, and I had to say that he was correct, and the fact that I should have gone into this career field.
Okay. Okay. And you ain't got to speak specific terms, but for those that are looking into getting into data engineering, what is like around like the average that they do make?
Yeah. So starting off entry level, you can make around. Well, it depends on where you live. But
Mhm.
if you're living in Atlanta, Georgia, starting off, you should expect around 60 to 70,000 starting off. I think that's a pretty fair amount, especially depending on if you are a contractor or a full-time employee. Um, you get paid more usually when you are a contractor than you would as a full-time employee. Uh, but you get more benefits as a full-time employee than you would a contractor. They have to have that separation because companies have been sued in the past for actually giving the contractors everything that a full-time employee would have, except for the benefits. And
Mm,
because of that, some contractors sue because there's no definition or no difference between the contractor and the full-time employee.
mm,
So yeah,
okay, okay. And so, I think because you listen to Anton Daniels, right?
yes, sir, I do.
And that's one of those things that one of those principles he talks about a lot of times is, kind of doing the work and then becoming your own contractor and creating those degrees of separation because then you got opportunities. Because every time that you create a moment to level up, you can be like, oh, here's my bargaining power here versus being with the employer sometimes. Um, and so are you currently your own contractor now, or how do you operate now? Because I remember watching, I think it was one of your first videos on YouTube where you were talking about getting laid off, by a tech company. I believe it was what, like January 2020 or something like that.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so are you a contractor now, or how's that working? How have you decided to navigate the tech world?
Yeah, currently I am a contractor. I am actually pushing towards going full time, and I talk about it a lot in my channel where I'm like, okay, these are the things that I want for my own life, but then there's nothing wrong with being a contractor. If you are a contractor, just like I said, you do make a higher dollar amount than what a full time employee would make for your skill level because you miss out on other benefits. Because if you are full time, they're pretty much paying for those benefits for you. So you pretty much make more whenever you count you out add in all of the benefits.
Okay, okay, okay. What was that like navigating that? So you leave, so you had to, basically you was forced out with the company, but you had actually experienced something similar to this with your internships, going through the process, right? Like there's a tightrope there because they don't have to retain you, and a lot of internships they don't have to pay you anything,
Yeah.
and so it's ultimately it seems like a world of free labor. So were you just like, hey, did you try to go and contact some of the people that you had worked with in the past, or did you start clean, or how did you go about finding new prospects as a contractor to be a contractor for?
Yeah, so the way I navigated it after I was laid off, well, I'll address what you said about the internship thing. Is that yes, that quite literally same thing happened. My internship ended, and I did not have a job right afterwards. So it was like a little bit of delay before I actually got another job. When I got laid off from my first real job in the tech industry, then what I did was I had a little bit more of a network. And with that, you have people who will say, "Hey, you know what? Apply to this position. I have a recommendation for you. I can vouch for you. I've worked with you before." And you actually start to make more connections with people who will say, "Okay, you know what? No matter what happens, no matter how much time passes, I rock with you, and just reach out to me whenever you need something."
Wow, that's outstanding. They always say, what I'm saying, your network is your net worth. And that
Yes,
speaks a lot. That speaks volumes.
right. And
So
let me
go ahead, brother.
add this in too, is that to finish off the whole how to navigate it is I was applying for jobs like crazy. I had an interview every single day for a full month. So every single day except except for weekends. But I would go in and interview with like at least 5 companies for a week, and then that will be several interviews with those specific companies. And I've worked with a lot of staffing agencies as well. Because when you're trying to actively look for a job, the fastest way to get a job is when you have other people working for you as well. Staffing agencies are a great way of getting somebody to work for you because you have a recruiter who's getting paid to work for you to vouch for you. And what you have to do is, in addition to those recruiters, you actually have to, in addition, apply for more jobs as well. That is what I did. And by the numbers, I was able to get another position right after I was able to get laid off. So it was about like 1 month had passed and I had another job.
Wow, that's beautiful. You literally just took your data engineering skills and re-engineered them for your life. And
Right.
that's extremely powerful because it's like when I was studying, right? So you got what the data engineers, you got the data analysts, and then you have data scientists, right?
Yeah.
And so that it's like, yeah, like you literally created another system and strategized for yourself. And that's one of those things that I really like about your YouTube channel, right? Because I think I remember you talking about on the lead attorney how um, you was coming for him. You about to get the subs and all that stuff. And so it was one of those things and the views and all that stuff. And like you got people like when we talked about network, right? You got people that will put your videos on at night and not actually be watching the video, but just to get you some watch hours, my man. Like I was reading the comment, like he got the juice. My man got the juice. You know what I'm saying? That's extremely powerful. And you've taken that same data engineering energy at the ripe young age of 26, right? And you brought that over to your YouTube channel, which is before the billions. And so,
Yes,
how
sir.
did you come up with the alias before the billions? Where does that come from? I mean, I think I know, but we got to break it down to the audience of what I'm saying, what does before the billions mean?
Right. So it's actually a funny story. All right. So this goes back to high school. I actually created Before the Billions the name back in 2013.
Okay.
So that was my senior year of high school. The way that I got this name is I actually had another nickname, which was Big Willie Will, and because my name is William, so they
Yeah.
shortened it down to Will, and they said Willie Will, and this is Big Willie Will, and I had that as my Instagram name. And then one day I had liked this girl's picture, and then the girl had came up to me and realized she said, "Hey, you know what? I really don't like when you like my pictures because of your name." So it looks weird when Big Willie Will likes my picture. So I
Bro.
said, you know what? I need to go ahead and change my name. And I was talking to my friend. We were in the gym locker room. I said, you know what? I'm gonna change my name to Before the Billions. What do you think about that? And he said he liked it, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll keep it as Before the Billions, and
Okay.
I kept it ever since.
Hey, I'm proud that she said that. That's because I'm like, bruh, like I think one of my like my cohorts, another captain, like I was like he had some crazy off the wall Instagram, you know what I'm saying? Man, sometimes we just don't know, and it's things that they just kind of stick, you know what I'm saying? Like if it was like if I had an Instagram back when what I'm saying when I was in high school, things like that, like it would have been hand bone. But like, could you imagine hand bone like Sarah's picture? You know what I'm saying? Like it's a weird strength right there that you like, yeah, I gotta walk away from this one. And my homeboy, he clicked on, I tagged him, you know what I'm saying? Because we was in a picture, we was looking about it, we was suited and booted. And I was like, dog, you gotta change your name. Like I don't feel comfortable tagging you in this right now. And so that did change. And so let's talk about this transition over to YouTube. What made you start creating content? What inspires the content that you currently create today?
Right. So the reason why I started YouTube is because of Kevin Samuels. Actually, Kevin
Okay.
Samuels was a big influence on me when especially when he was talking to the men, and he
Hmm.
was giving out some great advice. Reason why I got, like cologne in the background, you know,
Okay.
um, and also I had to change up a lot of things. But after his average at best video, I was like, you know what? I want to start up my own podcast where I can have people call in.
Okay.
And I started off initially on Instagram, but then I realized that there is no real community on Instagram. It's more so like people go in, they may come into your live stream, and as soon as they see that they're the only one, they're gonna hop right on off. Especially when you
Yeah.
say hey to them. You're like, hey, how you doing? Such and such.
They're like,
And then they go, "Oop." They're gonna hop right on off. But I didn't want that, so I just said, okay, you know what? I have a YouTube channel. It's gonna be a little bit more professional. to go to YouTube than it would be on Instagram. So let me go ahead and switch to that. And since then, I've been upgrading my YouTube channel and the way I do things on my YouTube channel. Now I actually have people calling in, and
Okay.
that is the best thing about it because that's exactly what I wanted. And my vision, last year or 2 years ago, that was like my vision of what it would look like. So actually, it was last year. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's pretty brilliant. And it's one of those things. So when they call into the show, can you explain to the listeners what they call in about typically, or like some of the baselines or some of the topics that get brought up? Because sometimes I see it all over the place. I'm like, dang, that's getting heated. And then other times I'm like, but you do a great job of like meeting all types of people where they are. Because I had El Guapo on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about give people what they want, not what you want them to have. And you are a outstanding example of doing just that. So how do you manage that, and like how do you come up with the topics, and like what are some of the ranges that you talk about?
Yeah, so primarily I come up with a topic. If it's not a late night work session, because I do late night work sessions where I either work on like my website or I work on video editing, whatever it is, and I teach people how to do what I'm doing as we work. And then also people call in, they listen to the music, and then they can just listen to it while they work as well, especially for people who work late at night. And that's just a Q&A. You can talk about whatever. But if
Okay.
I'm talking about a specific topic, it's usually about either technology or about something that you can do to improve yourself, especially when it comes to improving yourself to get a advancement in your career, or if you're working in corporate, how do you interact with people? How do you uh, overcome if you're socially awkward or introverted? How do you get out there and have more confidence in yourself? All of those things pretty much come together, and that's primarily what I talk about on the channel.
Okay. Outstanding. Outstanding. And those work sessions, are those tech-based work sessions, or what are they exactly?
Works, they just are
Just
pretty much whatever I'm working on, whatever I need to get done, I'll
okay.
start working on that, and then like last night, I had a work session, and I was just studying because I'm
Okay.
trying to get certified as a professional data engineer with Google Cloud Platform. So
Okay.
that is just cloud-based platform with Google, right? And
Mm-hmm.
with that, trying to do that so that way I can advance in my own career. And people called in, and we talked about whatever, and that's just more so just interacting with me while people are working. Some guy called in, and he's a trucker. He was working the entire time that he was on there. He was on there for like 7 hours. So
Wow. Okay. Okay.
yeah, he
Well,
worked
and
like
that
2 shifts.
that's awesome. Well, and that's also a great way to, what I'm saying, turn up the views, boost the algorithm. Like that's the sauce right there. Like so, and it's one of those things where usually since it's so late at night, I'll go to bed early. And sometimes it's my default because I get up stupid early, but it's like now I what I'm saying, if I'm able to tune in while I'm overseas, the time clock actually switches. So it might actually be daytime when you actually doing your thing. So I might tap into some of those. But you also just gave me some, what I'm saying, some free chicken in the army. We call it free chicken. Uh, and basically you gave me some free chicken of like maybe I turn because I want to get into like coding and things like that. And there's a couple of classes that I've applied for. And a lot of people don't realize, like, I don't know if have you made your channel a LLC yet?
Yes, before the
So
billions is an LLC.
yeah, and so that's awesome. Like, the world is really expanding, but it's one of those things where a lot of the classes and the courses you take are relative to the channel. So those write-offs come in different forms and different ways like that. Because tax law is written for Americans to be able to produce at a high level. Like a lot of people, they frown on taxes, but it's like, here's the thing: if you become a business owner, now you can create other opportunities, and you're feeding the beast doing everything that you were already doing. That's what
And
is
you can
really
give other people
fantastic.
yeah, you can also give people other opportunities as well. Because
Exactly.
if you employ people, it helps out them and also their families, so that way they can make money so they can feed their family. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just the trickle down system. I think because before the billions might rub a lot of people wrong because they're like, oh well, those billionaires they do this and do that, and I'm like, this is what one reason why, like, Kevin Samuels and Gary Vee and people like that, you get to see where they were sitting at tables with a old camera, what I'm saying, talking about wine, talking about, fragrances, talking about all those things. Like, I'm really glad that you highlighted all the fragrances in the back because a lot of people get Kevin Samuels wrong. Right now, there's a lot of stuff that he talks about that, I mean, honestly, it brings eyes because it gives people, what I'm saying, they're like, oh, okay, like this guy, right? It gives people a villain. People like to have a villain. The interesting thing is if you keep going through the algorithm, you'll see his videos where he was in, talking about how he had cancer. He was talking about his failed marriages and relationships, why he brings such energy to these conversations. Like, my first pair of Chelsea boots were inspired by Kevin Samuels. And I'm kind of a stockier, but I could, like, if I wear certain clothes, I look like more of a slender dude. But if it wasn't for Kevin Samuels talking about all these different things, I wouldn't be ready for the level that I'm at now. Because when I first started watching, I wasn't ready for no Chelsea boots. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was, doing the army thing. I was kind of deployed. I was more of a sneaker cat. But even more of my Nike apparel and stuff like that, it's more in a casual, type way. You know what I'm saying? Casual professional way, more so than it was getting the Jordans. Because you can't wear Jordans everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But like a nice pair of Chelsea boots with a Nike polo with some nice jeans, that's gonna have you styling out there. And so that's really awesome. I'm glad that you brought that full circle because so many people give these people bad raps. People hate Gary Vee, and I don't know why they hate Gary Vee, but like I'm like, this dude don't do nothing but wake up and try to motivate people,
Yeah.
and then try to show them love after that. He's like, you suck. Here's why, but you should be empathetic. I love you. Go love people. You know, what I'm saying? Like, so it's one of those things. So you know, as we're moving, towards more the end of the interview, how do you stay disciplined? I noticed that, when I sent you the questionnaire, it was, you wanted to talk about discipline, but how do you stay so disciplined in creating content? And, I see you working out now, put in that work. I guess you can cut that into two questions, but how do you stay disciplined when it comes to being a content creator? And then how do you stay disciplined in the gym, and what inspires you to get and stay in the gym? Because I feel like we both got gym origin stories as well.
Yes. So the first question about being in YouTube, being disciplined in YouTube is something that I had always been told you had to be extremely consistent. The reason why is because I was watching Lead Attorney. The
Mhm.
first time I went up on his channel, I was just like, "Thank you so much, Lead Attorney. You're making a great impact on people." And I wanted to go ahead and make more videos because I was giving myself so many excuses, like, "Oh, I'm working a full-time job. I have this going on, I have this going on." But then what I said was, "You know what? Let me just go ahead and put out these videos. I've already been doing the Instagram stuff. I'll go ahead and switch over to YouTube." And I only had like a few videos up, but I found out that doing live streams is a great way to not only have long form content, but because you have long form content, you can cut it up into many different sections. So if I have long form content, like 4 hour long live stream, I can have a week's worth of content.
Yes.
So I don't really have to go live every single day, but I can put up clips of videos. And then I already knew how to edit videos, and I already knew how to make thumbnails. I already knew how to do all these things. So I can just bring all of that information that I already knew to the forefront. And then, of course, you know, I'm sure you've seen my thumbnails. My thumbnails are pretty lazy looking. I just put up a picture.
Uh,
I put up my logo, I put up the picture. But the reason why I do that is a stylistic choice, and it's because whenever you see a lot of these videos that have like millions of views and stuff like that, they're just like pictures,
mm,
and that's it. It's just like I saw one picture, or I saw one video, and all it was a is a horse. It's like a picture of a horse, and he's like walking, and then the title said, "A horse kicks a tree, farts on a dog, and then runs away." And then I was like, man, I gotta watch that. So
Right.
I clicked on it. I'm like, I gotta watch it. But it would have 45 million views on there. I was like, oh my God. Like, but
But
it
like,
was,
was the video actually doing that, or like
yes.
what the?
But it was so accurate to what it was. It was just a picture of a horse. But the video and the video title and the thumbnail went together so well that I was just interested in watching the video.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if I just choose striking pictures to go along with the title, like I had a whole interview with Suzette Speaks the other day, and Suzette Speaks was asked a question from Mr. Real Estate, and the attorney came in to the chat. I had that as the straight up title of the YouTube video, and that video is doing pretty well.
Okay.
Right, so
Okay.
people actually, watch it more often than when I was actually putting in hours trying to make a thumbnail. I was sitting here like, oh, what do you guys think about this thumbnail? Oh, I don't like the colors. I don't like this. I don't like that. And it was more complex. I had put in more time for more people to scrutinize what I had already created. But if I just put up a picture, you can't really scrutinize it. It's just a picture, right?
Yeah.
And it's of the subject matter.
Okay. That's awesome. That gets me thinking of like, because during this process, being a content creator, it's like you be like, this gonna look good. But you don't really know what's gonna look good until you put it out there in the ether and you start working through this process. And being a data engineer, you understand this. You have to create a system.
Right.
And if your system is too complicated, now you've wasted way more time trying to come up with the perfect thumbnail and the perfect plan for a video that you already spent all those man hours working on.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
And it kind of goes back to this, Tommy, is that you can be as complex as you want to be. Just know that the more that you speak about a specific topic, the more you're leaving yourself open for something to be incorrect or for
Ooh,
something to be scrutinized. And
okay.
that's one of those things is that, like, especially if you're talking about something that is extremely technical, like I do on my channel,
Mhm.
I try to put things as simple as possible because I had experience when I was taking physics, and I actually would have to answer the question, and sometimes I would get the question right. Like the question was completely right, but the thing that I did was I got the right answer and I added on explanation. And when I added on that explanation, I went on for too long and I said a few things that were quite off, and then they took off points. So he's like,
Wow.
"Well, you could have had it right, but you just kept talking, you know?"
Wow. Well, and that's full
So
circle. When I'm briefing like military commanders, you know what I'm saying? Like whether it's a general or if it's a colonel, or even when I was a lieutenant, I was briefing captains or whatnot and like staffs. The problem was and people don't want to listen to me to this day. But the thing is, I've been through this so many times. Uh like because as a young officer, I had to be in front of staffs. And even when I was enlisted, there were certain people I had to brief, because in ROTC they try to set you up for the future. And one thing I would see is people would come in and they would, oh, this, and this. I'm like, he didn't. And then the colonel or the general would be like, I didn't ask that. Because he's got to get all of these pieces and put them together and come up with this plan that is probably 500 pages long that he has to send to an entire brigade, an entire division. He doesn't need to know everything in your lane. He just needs to know the specific answer. And the more that I give the sweet answers, because I box, so they call it the sweet science. A lot of times you got to keep it sweet. When you short and sweet, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You do what you do. You keep it short and sweet. You tell them the answer, and then you study the information. See, that's the issue a lot of people have. They don't actually know the background behind the information, so they try to BS when they bring it to the table. But if you study the information, you keep it tucked in, right? Keep that shirt tucked in. You give it sweet all day, because they'll start asking questions, but you already know those questions. The biggest issue is keeping them inside and letting them cook and pondering on them and being like, if he say this, I'm gonna say that. If they say this, I'm gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? But if you came up with the plan and you already know the data, you good to go. So that's beautiful that you do that, because it's just like I've seen so many people like, You know, and there's certain things that like they're not really a right or wrong answer to. Like somebody came on one of my comments on one of the videos was like, I disagree, but I was like, I want to know why he disagrees. So that way, when I face that conversation in the future, I can actually be like, oh, okay, oh, so you disagree based off of this, and I'm gonna give them what they want, not what I think they want. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay. I see where you're coming from because most things aren't even worth arguing about. It's just like we argue semantics at this point. Like it doesn't even make any sense, right? So I know I kind of, I go a little winded here, but I just like to talk. Uh, and it's one of those things where, so I've seen your fitness journey on Instagram. I'm seeing how that's worked out. What inspired that, or has this been an ongoing battle? I know we're coming up on a new year, new me, season, but you was in the gym before that, which that's what I respect about you. Because even if people might look at me now and they're like, okay, like you so fit and you doing all this stuff, but I have a bunch of old content all over my Instagram, all over my Facebook, all over that stuff that I don't delete because that's where I came from. I got to a point where I was up 250 pounds, and I'm only like 5'9". So it just doesn't look right on me, right? And so even I'm down to 195 and I'm a muscular guy, so it works. But even the army tells me that I'm overweight. They tell me that I don't meet height and weight standards, which I can do all the physical fitness tests at a high level. I'm good to go. But it's one of those things. I want to know what inspired you to go, to start hitting the gym and what keeps you in there.
Yeah, so what got me into the gym was I saw myself at 300 pounds, and this was back in 2019 and early 20. This is early 2020, and
Okay.
I was like, okay, you know what? I am fat. But I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and change this. First thing I had to change was my diet. I used to eat out all the time, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm getting tired of the only thing that I eat being cheeseburgers and chicken.
Mm.
Something beef related and something chicken related. That's all I would ever eat.
What
And
were you working as a data engineer at that time? So was you making
2020
decent
I
money at
was.
that time?
Oh,
Okay.
2019 and 2020 I was, yes.
Yeah, so it's
But
easy to go home and get, what I'm saying, get the burger boy. But go ahead.
yeah, especially because I don't live by my old job, so I had a
Hmm.
long drive and it'd be in the traffic. You got 2 hours in the traffic and stuff like that. You're like, man, I'm just gonna pick up something to eat and then go home. But what I did was I said, you know what, I'm gonna actually cook for myself, and cooking for myself helped out tremendously. In
Okay.
addition to that, I started exercising every single day for months.
Okay.
And a few days out, off or whatever. But I would go to the park every single day to walk because I couldn't run, I couldn't jump or anything. So I started walking, and I would walk for miles. During work, I would be like on a call or something like that, and then I'll be like walking or whatever. But I'll still be responding, and then I would get myself down to where I was like, okay, you know what? I feel a little bit better at walking. Let me go ahead and try and run. Then I started to do jump rope, and then I started to challenge myself. What I did to challenge myself was to say, you know what? If I can, if I can run a mile, then cool. Next week, let me try and run 2 miles.
Okay.
And then I kept going up, and I like the longest amount of miles that I've ran straight, like straight, was 10 miles. And I went to Piedmont Park in Atlanta, Georgia, and I
Okay.
said, this is my challenge. I'm not going to stop running. I might jog or whatever, but I'm going to run this
Mhm.
entire time. I'm not going to walk. And I just kept going until I reached that milestone. And shortly after, I was able to get down to the 250. And
Okay.
then later on, now I'm at 225 now. So
Outstanding.
I was able to get myself, uh, like this is, was it 75 pounds?
Mhm.
75 pounds less than where I started. And I am extremely happy that I went on this journey. My dad is my personal trainer. So he helps me out with with exercise. He's I have a whole bunch of stories about my dad, but he's one of the kind of people who would be like, you know what, you ain't doing enough. So he get into the gym. He's like, man, you over here bull driving. That's what he said. You bull driving around. You need to go ahead and lift the weights up and be quick about it. So
Mm-hmm.
if I don't work out with you, then you gonna be over here lazing around up in the gym. So he'll be
Uh-huh.
one of those kind of people who kind of motivate me to continue going. And challenging yourself is one of those ways of being able to stay disciplined and a way to actually see better results because you're pushing yourself to do something that you're not comfortable with. And
That's true.
with that, you just have to be, it's almost like a competition with yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
did good last week. Now I need to do even better this week.
Mm-hmm.
And you just continue on with that, and then you'll improve.
Okay, that's outstanding. I appreciate you sharing that with the listeners because a lot of people look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, dude, this dude's," I'm like, the same formulas apply, but you've got to want it. And that's one of those things where it's beautiful that you talked about, getting home. Like when I first started FedEx, man, like I knew I was losing weight and I was sweating, I was dying because of the process because it's exhausting and it was hot, man. I got pictures of that. I'm sweating and I posted selfies and look at a hot mess. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things where you go home and you just put all the calories back on, but you put horrible calories back on. And you reach for the bottle. You know what I'm saying? You got wine. Like, bro, it's crazy. I got wine here in my apartment that like I've had probably for 6 months just because I stopped. It stopped being relevant to me. I started putting more into my content. I started putting more into my life, into my career, and just trying to educate myself more. And fairly enough, it was like, okay, like you got food at home. And if I'm gonna go get some chicken tonight, it's because I went to go get some groceries. So that way I'm not eating chicken every night. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of those things where it changes how you do and operate everything, man. And you a data engineer, so it's literally just a change in scope. Like you just change it, you know what I'm saying, the direction of your vision a little bit and applying all that same energy in a different way. And that's what's so powerful about the process. Um,
Right.
and I appreciate you, what I'm saying, sharing your fitness journey as well, because sometimes we want to share the beautiful moments and stuff like that, but the truth is it's the hard work, it's the pain that people see and the process that people see us going through that means the most to people. Because everybody posts, you got people that, like, I swear, like, they took all their pictures during their cutting season because they're bodybuilders, so those are the only pictures that they post. But like, I get super motivated by seeing people a little bloated, because guess what? At the end of the day, right? That's what your body is doing. It's relaxing. So you're not gonna walk around cut all the time. A lot of times, the stuff that you see is because of lighting. It's because, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying, you walking around, it's lighting, the light hits a certain way, and you don't even know it. And that's why I started recently documenting most of my workouts, because I use it as a feeder content for the YouTube channel. Because I noticed the algorithm, it appreciates the shorts, because the shorts, they get more views and they're
Mhm.
quicker. So if you can get that spotlight of attention, you can bring more attention to your channel and then highlight others, and it just kind of creates this outstanding cocoon that later is going to turn into a butterfly. Um, but I really enjoy, what I'm saying, seeing your content and what you do. And I want you to keep doing what you do, because you're touching more lives than you'll ever know. And people will see this video and they'll be like, oh, before the billions, that's catchy. You know what I'm saying? But it's outstanding individuals like yourself that are leading the way. I know you recently, I think you're up to what, 1.6 thousand views right now, or subscribers. I always mess this up. I think I gave you what, last time I said 10,000 subs instead of 1,000 or something when I was in the chat. Uh,
Yeah, man, but yeah, you're correct. I am at 1.6 thousand subscribers. Yeah, shout
and
out to the
so
BTB squad.
yeah, man, y'all are killing it. Y'all are killing it. But bro, I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming on this podcast and agreeing to be a guest. I appreciate you. I'd love to have you on in the future. Maybe we just talk about tech. Maybe we talk about, something that's going on. I'm gonna try to. I don't know what the technology is gonna look like during the deployment, but I'm gonna try to do more, since I'm not on my feet as much with the FedEx thing and all that stuff. I'm gonna try to do more tapping into some of your live streams, because the other night y'all was cooking, bro. Y'all was cooking, and you was setting people straight. You was like, "Oh, we ain't going there. We need to be here." Like, I've seen like your growth as a leader when it comes to being a content creator.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got that TLA in you now. You're like, hey, look, we here. We need to be here. We're not going all the way over there. We're not running in the victim Olympics. Shout out to Anton Daniels. He talks about that because we know that it's an uphill battle. But going on and trying to explain that to everybody else, you losing opportunities and time trying to explain to everybody else why it's an uphill battle. Like I dated somebody and she was like, oh yeah, how do you feel about this? I'm like, that sucks. That is injustice right there. But I've got to keep moving my feet because me complaining isn't going to change the system. Action changes the system. And, Will, I just want to say thank you, for stepping in that void and changing the system and doing things different, and detaching from corporate America quick and making adjustments and becoming before the billions. So we appreciate you, brother. You got any last words for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Tommy, for having me up here, man. I really do appreciate your channel. Thank you so much for subscribing to me as well, and I subscribe to you and supporting you as well. I really just want to say shout out to the BTB squad. Without you guys, I would not be where I am now. To where I get Tommy up here. He's interviewing me, asking me about my journey. I'm extremely glad that people actually find an interest in what I talk about and are gaining value from the channel. And also, Tommy, I'm going to be rocking with you, subscribing and supporting you, throughout everything, man. So I hope that everybody else from my channel comes over and watches this video as well.
Oh yeah, and right after this, I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna drop it on there. I'm gonna set it as a premiere. So I'm gonna have it cut up within the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna email you the links over, brother. But we appreciate you coming on. Go ahead. What was you
gonna say? And let me know when you do that, so that way I can set a video up, so that way I can send it to your, I can redirect it to your premiere.
Okay.
So I already got a video cut. I can put it up, and then people can come in to my premiere, and then I'll send them over to yours, so that way it goes directly to your video.
Wow, that's outstanding. I'm gonna have to. That's some magic right there. I appreciate that, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Millennials Are. Ladies and gentlemen, before the billions.